But today's topics: who are the YouTube hoopers? Who are the hoopers on YouTube? And the difference between the two? Should we do a game between them? Now this is where it gets a little dicey. The TikTok folks who want to come over to the YouTube platform, that's where it gets dicey, because that's a different platform. Shout out Chris with the wrist. I think let me check here. Yeah, he had a whole, TikTok hoopers, what should I just call them, basketball players, because I don't know a single hooper on TikTok. There's a difference, people, between a hooper and a basketball player. Let's start it out. So YouTube hoopers, that's people who are on YouTube, may make basketball content, but prior to YouTube really didn't do too much anything basketball wise. Now that may include people like Flight Reacts, Cash Nasty, Jidel, basically a majority of two hype besides LSK, Zach, and Jesse. Who else is this YouTube hooper? I want to say Kenny, but I don't know. Tell me if y'all consider Kenny a YouTube hooper. Definitely Flight and Cash are YouTube hoopers. And it can get a little bit dicey because, like, if you don't know too much, but like I don't know if Jesse played a lot of high school ball or if he played any at all before, dropping out, doing YouTube, all that. So I don't know if I'd put him as a YouTube hooper or even a hooper who does YouTube. He just plays basketball. That's where he is. Sorry, I'm scrolling through subscriptions to see who would be a YouTube hooper versus hooper who does YouTube. Manny Chillin, YouTube hooper. Sorry, bro, I had to do it. Don't call me out and not back it up. Again, I don't know about Kenny. I don't know where he would lie. MW Deuce, he's a hooper who does YouTube. So what is a hooper that does YouTube? Hooper that does YouTube is someone who played at a high enough level, we'll say high school and above, before YouTube, played any level of basketball before YouTube, and just does YouTube now. Like, I'm a hooper that does YouTube. I guarantee 90% of y'all who've been calling me out in the comments getting cooked. Y'all have never seen me play. You see me training my little brother to play people. You see me play him to get his mentality and skills right. Never seen me play 100%. And that's your downfall, because I've seen all of your stuff at 100%. I would put myself at hooper who does YouTube, especially because the skill level you have to require for a high school coach to even consider you to play college, or even ask if you had a want to play college and try to get things in order for you for offers. If you're calling me out and you haven't been at any level of basketball, don't do it. It's not good for you. Got this new tripod, by the way. Y'all like the angles? It's way better than setting it up on a box. My contact solution behind it. Oh, little ad break, little shameless promo. Referral link and code down below. MyProtein US. Get 30% off anything you order. Pretty much my plug. So YouTube hoopers. Hoopers who do YouTube. My bad. So you would have had to have a high enough play level to even be considered for the list. So like Austin Mills, the one from Baylor. I don't know too much about amilly, but I feel like he's a hooper who does YouTube. I don't know his background before TikTok and YouTube, but clearly he's skilled. Austin Mills, myself, AJ Lepre, LSK, Marcelas Howard, Zach TTG, Dev, Friga. We are the hoopers who do YouTube, and there's a difference. There's a big difference. Okay. Yes, both basketball, but it's a levels thing. So like Flight, Cash, that group of YouTube hoopers I mentioned will never have a 5 or even 1v1 and beat a hooper who does YouTube. That's why Kenny lost to Cell. Let's be real. It's a levels thing. Some of it's IQ. Some of it is just straight skill. Let's be real. Is my camera tilted? Why is it like that? It's the same reason Manny Chillin called me out and thinks he's gonna let me or allow me to win. But this isn't about me. This is a community thing, basketball community thing. So YouTube hoopers versus hoopers who do YouTube. Hoopers who do YouTube are winning. It's just straight up. You think a YouTube TikTok hooper like GeoWise is beating me, Austin Mills, amilly, LSK, Marcelas Howard, anyone on that list? No, it's not happening. It's really just not. And it's no disrespect to any of the YouTube hoopers, but it's a levels thing. Let's be real. It's like, I hate to use this example, but we about to do it. It's like, would you put the all-time great WNBA players against the Sacramento Kings of today? No, because even the worst of the best is beating the best of the worst. Put that on a t-shirt. That was kind of fire. But now we're not talking about the biological difference, okay? We're talking skill level difference. So YouTube hoopers versus, we'll go into WNBA versus NBA also in this segment. It's a comparison type video, basketball skill, but it's just not happening for the YouTube hoopers, okay? Especially when, and shout out the 1v1 Hoops podcast and Chris with the wrist. For their video, I don't know if I'll be able to find it, but they did a segment, and I'll play a snippet of it right now.
And it's just crazy, like what he did. Like, it's somebody who is absolutely garbage, absolutely garbage at basketball. This man has the money to go to these trainers that train NBA players, and he still isn't that good yet. And then, like, when he's literally playing the exact same, it's just like, dude, like, I'm kind of tired of watching you just be so ass. So it's like, I don't know how much longer I'm gonna sit here and just like buy into it, because like, you gotta think. And I also think about this for Cash. Cash is obviously, like, we've seen Cash get better, but I feel like Cash should be better than what he is right now. Cash is top of the key. Yeah, you can shoot the top of the key wide open, but yet you're still mediocre at it. But you're getting trained, like, you got R2B ball, you got Eddie, who's like works like on your offensive game. Like, you got these high level trainers, and like, you're still kind of the same. You're saying I'm not a hooper, I'm just a hooper. Like, bro, you are training with R2B ball, a hooper. Yeah. You are training with these people that we want to be trained by, that hoopers want to be trained by, hoopists want to be trained by. And you're saying, I'm not a hooper, I'm just a hooper. Like, you're trying to be a hooper, but you're too apt to where you're just a hooper. That's what
he mainly uses it too when he loses.
Basically, it was about like how YouTube hoopers like Cash and Flight are gonna fall off in the basketball community. Not the reaction side of things or entertainment, but pure hooping. Because let's be real, Cash is not good. Neither is Flight. It's no disrespect to their character or personage. They're just not good at basketball at all. And when you fail to improve as a basketball player, especially as a YouTube hooper who wants to do this for a living and wants to try to beat other people at a higher level, if you're not improving, you're going to fall off. And that's kind of what happened to Gio. Now, Gio is not a YouTube hooper. He's a TikTok basketball player who, falsifies evidence and fakes his edits and buckets and junk. But we're not going to go into Gio. But it's the same reason Gio kind of fell off. He had his little bit of hype where he was flexing his grandparents' stuff and stuff at an Airbnb and hotel, going off on Cam Wilder, things like that. And then fell off because nobody cares about the flexing or the trolling. There's only one person on this platform who can flex and troll and still have a career. And unfortunately, that's Jake Paul. But you go into a curve, right? So with YouTube basketball, or the basketball community, we don't call it YouTube basketball because that's like a whole different topic. We can talk about it later in the podcast. But when you have people like Gio, right, who are trying to come into the YouTube space, Gio, Cash, Flight, heck, even Kenny sometimes, when you fail to improve, you fall off. And I don't want that to happen to anybody. Let's be real. No matter how bad you are at it, I don't want anybody to fall off. Because it's playing with people's livelihoods, let's be real. But when you fail to improve, the gimmick is up. And I believe that's what Chris with the wrist brought out. It could have been J1v1 Hoops, or I forgot the other guy on the podcast. I'm sorry, bro, but I'm bad with names. I'm good with faces, but I'm bad with names. That's a Jack Johnson reference. It's like the gimmick is kind of up. People felt like 2020, pandemic. Well, pandemic's still here, but 2020, you had Cash versus June Flight, right? The premier 1v1 of the year. They also played this year. Nobody was hyped for June Flight at all. because we know he wasn't going to improve, and if he did, it wasn't by enough of a margin for it to mean much. So yes, YouTube hoopers are entertaining. Using Cash on Flight as an example, they're entertaining, but they're not good or good enough to continue to bring value to the basketball community. Yes, they're going to have their little videos where they kind of pop off a little bit. Their fan bases, individual fan bases will mess with them. But in the grand scheme of things, in the basketball community, I don't see it panning out for them. I have tendonitis in both knees. I guarantee I'm beating Cash and Flight in the same day. I have the stamina and skill for it. It's one of those things. But then again, that goes back to me being a hooper on YouTube. There's a difference. It's like the same. Well, I mean, Devin Freak is not a good example because those are both hoopers. But it's the reason you'll never see Kenny Chow 1v1 Dev. It's like yeah, it'll bring Kenny some clout maybe because he's gonna lose, but people know who he is, so it'll bring some more traffic his way. But like with Dev, what does Dev have to gain from that? Nothing. It's Kenny. No disrespect, Kenny, but Kenny does not have the skill to match up with Dev. So in the same way, it's like hoopers on YouTube. That's where we are, right? Our channel as a collective, and other content creators who've had a history of basketball and do it on YouTube now. Austin Mills, amilly, Marcelas, Howard, LSK, people like that, versus YouTube hoopers. It's like, what do we have to gain? Yeah, we gain the reactions, we gain, traffic on our channels, we gain more people knowing us type stuff, which, I mean, that only gets you so far in life. But what do we have to gain from playing against YouTube hoopers? Like, what is someone like me or Marcelas Howard gonna gain from playing against Cheeseaholics or Flight? Like, you see what I mean? Because I know what I mean, but I'm not good at explaining things. So yeah, YouTube hoopers versus hoopers on YouTube. Y'all tell me y'all's dealio on that.